In this lesson, we'll practice using the useEffect hook for the first time. Remember, the useEffect hook will run at least once after the component initially renders. So that makes it the perfect spot to make our initial API request to get the original batch of employees. So we're going to use useEffect to emulate the functionality of our component didMount lifecycle method below. I'll begin by importing useEffect. That is going to be another named function on the React object that the React library exports. And just like the useState hook, we simply use it inline within the body of our functional React component. So right here, I'm going to invoke useEffect directly inline like a regular function. Now, the first thing we pass to useEffect, you can see here in the parameter list, is called effect. And what that is a function. So right here, I will pass in a basic arrow function. And as a reminder from our slide deck in the previous lesson, React will automatically run this function at least once, and that operation will take place after the component renders. So right here, I'm going to once again use Axios to make our request to our JSON server. So right here, I'm going to say const URL, and our URL is http ://localhost:4000/employees. And on your end, make sure that you are running your JSON server, by the way. So in a separate terminal tab, you can execute npm run backend. It has been a little while, but you need to make sure that server is running so that it can respond to this request we're about to make. So the code remains exactly the same. We're going to call axios.get. We're going to invoke that method and pass in our URL. That is going to return a promise, and then I can react to that promise by calling then on the promise object and providing a function for what to do when that promise resolves. That promise will resolve with a response object from Axios. On that response object, we have a data property with the actual response from the server, and I'm going to save that to a const called employees right here. And then, of course, the final thing we need to do is to update our component state with this new batch of employees. So as a reminder, our employee state starts out as an empty array, and we no longer have access to this.setState because we are within a functional component. But luckily, we have this complementary setter function, this complementary writer function called setEmployees, which allows us to update the employees piece of state. So right here, I'm just going to invoke setEmployees. And we're going to pass in the next value or the next iteration of that state, this employee's piece of state, and it will be the employees array that I get from my backend. So the component will render right here with an empty array. Then after the component's initial render, this useEffect function will run. It will make its API request. It will get back an array, and it will update the employee's state to be that new array. I think we have something like 5 employees. That is a state change, which will trigger a component re-render, and then our employees array will have those 5 employees, and that will cause this map method right here to iterate over an array of 5 objects and generate 5 cards. So when I save this on the right-hand side, we should see our employee cards pop up, and they do. And the good news, once again, is that our former implementation is commented out. So this is a sign that our new component is working as expected, our functional component. So to summarize, what we did in this lesson is we replaced this functionality right here in our new functional-based, hooks-based React component. So to emulate the feature of the component didMount lifecycle method, we used the useEffect hook. We provided it a function, and in that function body, we specified what React should do at least once. And in this case, it will automatically run after the component initially renders. As a reminder, there are scenarios in which the function that we pass to useEffect can run multiple times, and that's going to be what we explore in the upcoming lessons, because the next thing we need to solve, of course, is how to mimic this functionality right here. Our component didUpdate lifecycle method has the potential to run multiple times, and we're going to learn how we can mimic or copy or emulate that functionality using useEffect in the upcoming lessons. But for now, we've covered most of our old component logic, right? We have our state emulated, we have our component didMount replicated, we have our render logic copied over. So the refactoring process is moving along swimmingly. All right, that's all there is to cover in this lesson, so I will see you in the next one.